I got a little list of society offenders who be well beyond the ground, and they never will be missed. They never will be missed. Hello, everybody. I know some of you do miss British Snob, but he will be back next August for another UK month. And the reason why I'm doing this review, and as you can see here, clean shave and all that, I sort of let myself go all of a sudden because of the rain and all, and of course a little problem with the Wi-Fi going on. But besides all that, today is September, right folks? And this September, I'm going to be doing some other reviews that I never have a chance to do it because of October. Because in October, I'm going to be doing another Grim Scary Tales, folks. So, it's going to be my last Grim Scary Tales. It's going to be my last Grim Scary Tales. So, stay tuned. And then after that, it'll be back to basics. But for now, I got a list here, folks. And, today's video I'm going to do, folks, is the top 10. Now, this is a top 10 I always wanted to do here. This is a certain type of top 10. It's pretty much one of my personal favorites. One thing I have to tell you is that I don't care much about scary movies of today. I mean, back then, I liked it when the old classic horror movies, they want to give you a spook, but instead they make you want to puke. I mean, like the Human Centipede? Ugh. Cringe over that. Or, I mean, everybody remembers about the slashers. Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, and Freddy Krueger. You know, come to think of it, since I did last Friday the 13th ago, I did review the entire franchise of Friday the 13th. You know, one of these days, I'm thinking we're going to do Freddy Krueger, where I'll be talking about all of his movies, soon. With among other things. But anyway, I'm going to talk about the old classics. And of course, everybody remember Hannibal Lecter and Jigsaw. So, I'm going to talk about the ones that I enjoy the most. The one I like the most when it comes to... Gosh, it's getting windy all of a sudden. Anyway, what I'm going to be telling to you is this is going to be my top 10 classic monster movies. Now, to break this all off, number 10 is none other than Gwynplaine from The Man Who Laughs. Now, for those of you who don't know what Gwynplaine is, and The Man Who Laughs is a silent film, what it's about this guy who goes by the name of Gwynplaine. When he was a little kid, they cut off the nerves on his cheek, so now he has this permanent grin going. What are you smiling at? Anyway, every time people look at him, they call him a clown, and he takes good care with this other girl, not his sister, but he took care of her when she was a little baby, and she's blind. And people thought of them as a bunch of freaks, because a blind girl and a clown. People these days. And believe it or not, wait a minute, clown? Permanent grin? He was the inspiration of the Joker! I mean, look at it! Ha, ha, ha. Oh, he, ha, ha, ha. Oh, he, ha, ha. And I thought my jokes were bad, huh? Well, The Man Who Laughed was the inspiration to the character here. Well, that gets me into a really good mood. By the way, You ever wonder where I got these scars? Nope, 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 no, 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 no. Don't you dare, Joker doll. Don't you dare. Besides, everything you tell me about your scars, it's always a lie. You're never going to tell the truth where you get them anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if you did it yourself. Anyway, check out The Man Who Laughed. And even they made a remake. I think it's a French one or a Swedish one. But on this version, on the remake, they gave him scars just like my Joker doll there. Inspiration for Heath Ledger, I guess. So, this is Gwynplaine from The Man Who Laughs. Number 9 is none other than The Invisible Man. Based on a book by H.G. Wells. You know, H.G. Wells wrote a lot of really good science fiction stories. And this one is a doozy. And forget about the one with Chevy Chase. I mean, that was no good Invisible Man movie right there. But anyway, what's it about? It's about this scientist who was so obsessed on creating a formula that would make him invisible. And he finally drank the potion, and it finally made him invisible. But the problem is, once he becomes invisible, he can't change back. And he's trying his best to turn himself back. But instead, the formula from the invisibility they gave him turned him into a raving lunatic. He's going like, with the power of my invisibility, I can rule the world! Obsessed much? And of course, yes, I've seen the remake, Hollow Man, starring Kevin Bacon. It was definitely a remake of The Invisible Man. But check out the classic here. That's what started the whole horror genre. At first, I always thought there's nothing scary about somebody who's invisible, but as I think about it, it is pretty scary getting stalked by somebody you cannot see. Now that's really creepy. Now, and number 8, coming up, is none other than Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Or how some people will call him Dr. Jekyll instead of Dr. Jekyll. Based on Robert Louis Stevenson, the same guy who wrote Treasure Island, this is a story about a medical chemist, doctor, who wanted to know what it's like to be the opposite of yourself and do whatever it is you cannot do because you know it's wrong. So what he did, he invented a formula, or here's a better way to explain it. Hello, I am nice and kind, proper Dr. Jekyll. I am the medical doctor and also the gentleman of London. I finally made my formula, so cheers. Hello, my name is Mr. Hyde. I'm an evil, sinister man, a real sociopath. All I do is I go down to bars, pick up women, and beat them until they die. And get away with it. And that's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It was the most famous story of all times. Back in the silent films, they made about 12 of them. The most memorable one is, the most memorable one of all was starring John Barrymore, Drew Barrymore's grandfather. But this one I'm talking that this is Universal by Frederick Marsh here. This one was the better version, and it's a talkie version. Although there was also one with another actor, can't say his name, can't remember his name, but there are tons of different versions of Jekyll and Hyde. Now, coming in number 7 is none other than Lon Chaney Sr., The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Hey, does he mean Hunchback of Notre Dame? Is that me? no Disney version of Hunchback of Notre Dame. I'm sorry, but I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the Lon Chaney classic. So, I'm sorry. And why do you look like you're all dirty and grimy?
Oh. Well then. And the reason why I look all dirty and grimy is because, well, ever since those 2 movies were made, Disney has no reason to keep me around, so they have me working in Disney. And I wish I would have quit. But I'm under contract by Disney. Man.
Gosh. I guess once you become an icon on Disney and not many people don't like the movie or stop becoming famous, you just ended up as a slave to Disney. Thank goodness I'm not in league with Disney. But anyway, let's talk about this classic right here starring Lon Chaney Sr. This one's a silent film here, but this one is about Quasimodo, who is born deformed and works as a bell ringer in the Cathedral of Notre Dame. And his master, I guess it's either Frodo or something, he's trying to get Esmeralda in trouble and have her arrested for something she didn't do. They think they killed this one guy, but it turns out that he was alright, he wasn't killed. And now they're going to save her. And of course, here's one thing. Esmeralda, even though she was a gypsy, she wasn't her origin. She was kidnapped by gypsies and raised her. Because her real mother ended up in an insane asylum. Because losing a child can make you go insane. And of course, unlike the Disney version, Disney is just a sugar-frosted topping story for kids. This one here is more dramatic and more of a drama. And of course, there's a sad ending at the end. Which I can't spoil it to you because I'm going to tell you guys to watch it. That is Quasimodo, Hunchback of Notre Dame. Now, coming in number 6 is none other than The Phantom of the Opera. Another Lon Chaney movie, and a silent one as well. You know, they call Lon Chaney a man of 1,000 faces because he was really good putting all the makeup and prosthetics on his face that you never could recognize him. And he always plays scar-faced gangsters to deformed cripples. And even one time he played a foreigner. I mean, I heard one time he played Fu Manchu. Anyway, the Phantom of the Opera here, named Eric, according to the original book of Phantom of the Opera, he was born deformed. That's why he looks this way. But they decided to make up a story in the silent films, and of course in other films, that a fire got into the cathedral, and it burned his face pretty bad. And it drove him insane. And he's helping this one girl who has potential of becoming an opera singer, and tries to kill anybody who dares trying to have her removed. And yes, I heard and seen the remake starring Gerard Butler. Out of all the actors in the world, why the heck they always keep on hiring actors who can't sing out of a paper bag? I mean, heck, even I could sing and do the Phantom of the Opera. My song of love I give to you. But apparently there might be somebody shouting out, "Remove the mask! Let me see your deformity!" Sorry, I can't give the finger, so I do the old British 2-finger salute. But this is Phantom of the Opera right here. One of the most memorable Phantoms in history. Now, coming in number 5 is none other than The Creature from the Black Lagoon. Oh yes, the Creature of the Black Lagoon. The monster existed in the atomic age. You know, back in the 50s when we set the bomb. And the Cold War between us and the Russians. This one made the Universal monster came out on top. The creature of the Black Lagoon is supposed to be a prehistoric missing link. He's supposed to be a kind of species between man and fish. And that's all they figured out on the creature of the Black Lagoon. And now I hear there's a remake coming out soon. Although, for those of you who are listening, especially you Hollywood people, I got a great idea what they can do with the creature of the Black Lagoon. My idea of the creature of the Black Lagoon, what if the creature of the Black Lagoon is one of the deep ones? Hear me out. For those of you who never read H.P. Lovecraft stories or any of his books, the deep ones are these humanoid fish-like creatures from the story The Fall of Innsmouth, or that movie they made based on the book called Dagon. Anyway, I thought it'd be really interesting that the creature of the Black Lagoon is one of the deep ones. And, a little hintity hint in the movie, that they go into his cave, where it's next to the lagoon, and they find his hiding spot, and the cave would be decorated by statues of his gods. I mean, there's one carved statue of Dagon, another carved statue of Dagon's wife Hydra, and a huge carved statue of Cthulhu. Sorry. I always wanted to do that. And now I hear that Scarlett Johansson is going to be in the remake. Should have picked a better actress. I mean, I'm not against Scarlett Johansson. I mean, I gotta say, she is pretty hot and really attractive. I just don't think much of her on the Avengers. I mean, the only actress that got my attention on the Avengers is Elizabeth Olsen. Her character, the Scarlet Witch, I like her better than the Black Widow. I mean, everybody always keeps saying, Scarlett Johansson this, Scarlett Johansson's that, Black Widow this, Black Widow that. I'm like, the heck with Scarlett Johansson, the heck with Black Widow. I'm more interested in the Scarlet Witch. So give me Elizabeth Olsen. But that's just me. Anyway, check out the Creature of the Black Lagoon. Oh, and if you see the Return of the Creature of the Black Lagoon,
Clint Eastwood is in the movie. So go ahead, make my day.
I always wanted to do that. Anyway, check out Creature of the Black Lagoon. You might be surprised. Now, coming in number 4 is none other than The Mummy, starring Boris Karloff. Now, unlike the other Mummy movies you know, well, besides the one with Brandon Fraser, even though they made that movie more of an action film than a horror movie, and it looks like something out of Indiana Jones. I mean, I have to say, those Mummy movies starring Brandon Fraser was pretty good, but I want to talk about the classic. And unlike the other black and white Mummy movies where the mummy doesn't talk and he always walks so slow and always strangles the people to death, this one is about a mummy who started it all. This mummy is named Imhotep. His origin is that he was a high priest who fell in love with the princess. And after the princess died, he found the scroll of Thoth, angering the gods. And he was murmuring the scroll. It can bring him back to life. And he was planning to bring his the princess back to life, but couldn't do it until he found the reincarnation of the princess, who's supposed to be a descendant, a sort of like she's related to the princess somehow. She's reincarnated, and he's trying to turn her into a living mummy like himself. And that's the mummy for you. Sounds a lot like a premise of Dracula. But anyway, this is the Mummy. It started it all. Check out the black and white classics. Oh yeah, and I heard about the Tom Cruise remake, where the mummy is a woman, and Russell Crowe's in it, playing Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So, hintity hint hint. But of course they're making Tom Cruise be like some kind of undead action hero because he cannot die and he's chosen to kill the mummy, who is actually a woman and a priestess. You know, I might check out that movie one of these days. May not be so bad. But I rely on the classics, folks. So check out The Mummy. Now, beside this windy day, coming in number 3 is none other. Coming in number 3, it's none other than The Wolfman. Yep, The Wolfman, folks. You see, according to this story here, Lon Chaney Jr., the son of Lon Chaney Sr., is playing a guy who goes by the name of Lawrence Talbot. He gets bitten by a werewolf, and all of a sudden he gets a pentagram scar. And a gypsy always says, "Whoever is bitten by a werewolf and lives becomes a werewolf himself. Any man who is pure of heart and says his prayers by night, when the full moon comes with the wolfbane booms, he becomes a wolf." And every time when the full moon rises, Lawrence Talbot turns into a werewolf, and after he wakes up, he feels so guilty on what he done, even though he doesn't know what it is, but he still feels guilty. So this is the Wolfman for you. And of course, I haven't seen the remake with Guillermo del Toro and Anthony Hopkins, but I should check that movie out. You know, I should check it out. May not be as bad. Now, coming in number 2, ladies and gentlemen, is none other than the Frankenstein monster. A mad scientist who goes by the name of Dr. Victor Frankenstein, based on Mary Shelley's novel under the same name. Dr. Victor Frankenstein wanted to know what it's like to be God. So what he did, he found a few body parts and he sewed them together and then shot electricity and he brought him to life. Little did he know that the brain they gave him was an abnormal brain. You know, the story Frankenstein and these Frankenstein movies, they always keep trying to tell you something. Don't try to be God. Don't play God. There'd be consequences. So now, Frankenstein gets haunted by the monster. And Boris Karloff is the actor who played the monster. Although in the original book, he was called Adam, but in this, he's just called the Frankenstein monster. Frankenstein was the name of the scientist who made him, not the monster. And the movie got so popular that they made a sequel, and it's more based from the original story of Mary Shelley, The Bride of Frankenstein. I don't know if they made the bride. I don't know if they named the bride Eve, but this is the one, and this is The Bride of Frankenstein. So check out these 2 sequels here. Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein. It is very memorable. Now, coming in number 1. Sorry. Number 1 is the one I'm giving the trophy to here. Number 1, which I have it on disc and not on VHS. The legendary monster of them all, Count Dracula. Bela Lugosi, he did the best role ever, playing the undead aristocrat. And now they made Dracula the Lord of the Monsters and Lord of the Vampires. I love this movie so much, and I would say he's number 1 in my list of monsters. And of course, he is a fan favorite to everybody. So, one thing I'm going to do, I am going to give this trophy to you, Dracula, my man. Here you go. Thank you.
You love me. You really love me. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Be a number one on this list. Our Lady of Lords. But I am Count Dracula, thanking to you all for making me become number one of all classic monsters. Although, hang on a second. I think I should bring some of my old friends back. Frankenstein monster and the Wolfman. They'd want to be in the show anyway. So, I promised myself I wouldn't cry. Anyway, thank you, multi-voice reviewer, and thanks to all of my fans. Mwah.
You're welcome, Dracula. And that is the list of the that is my top 10 list of the classic monsters. So, if you guys like this top 10 list, please leave a comment down below, hit like and subscribe to see more of my videos. Oh yeah, if you want to know what my next video is going to be, hey Joker doll, front and center.
Yes, what is it you want?
Since I heard that you know more about Pennywise, since that new remake of It is coming soon, and I'm sure they're not going to explain a lot about his origin, and you know more about Pennywise than I'm thinking that maybe the next review, how about you explain to me everything you know about Pennywise?
Why, that would be a great idea. I'm always dying to talk about Pennywise. I just love his style. So I'm honored to tell all of you about the real Pennywise. So, see you later.
So stay tuned, folks. I'm going to do a video where I'm going to be explaining more about Pennywise from Stephen King's It. So, see you soon.